So let the voters echo, let their voices be heard.
Good afternoon. My name is Bahman Yazdanfar, and this is Voters Echo, a weekly program to bring to you Torontonian, Ontarian, and Canadian different perspectives from different people. Either they are candidates or they are part of the political system or ordinary men and women or electorate, to give you different perspective of our of the environment, political environment, economy, and the society that we live in. So it gives you some sort of the better understanding from different angle. A couple of disclaimers. I am under payroll of no entity, no individual, no corporation, no political party. I am neither member nor sympathizer of any federally registered political party. I do not endorse or decline any particular opinion of my guests. And the airtime for this show is contributed by Dr. James Sears, which I appreciate him. I do not make any money out of this show. If any one of you wants to help me, there is a button on our website, www.votersecho.com, that you can click on it. And if you want to help me either in the form of human resources or monetary, I will appreciate that. For today, it is the first week after the election we had 1 week ago, and I asked my very first guest when I started this show on 9th of June of this year to come back and give us his perspective, not because he was my first guest, because he has been around the block more than 2 or 3 times. Much, of course, more. I'm pretty sure more than me, at least, and most of my guests. So without further ado, let's ask him. Greg, first of all, thank you for accepting my invitation again and come back. Just give the audience again brief your full name and just a little bit of background for those who are tuning in for the first time.
Hi, and thanks for having me back. Hi, my name is Greg Vezina, and I'm an author and an inventor and a political analyst. I've even been called a gadfly by somebody.
Well, you can add it.
You know. In any event, I'm one of those people that when I see something that I don't like, I try to change it. Sometimes I have success, other times I don't. Sometimes you have to be careful what you wish for, because sometimes you get what you thought you wanted and you don't.
The result is not what you expected.
What you want. But I've had a number of successes, both in business and in inventions and in politics over the year, as a founding candidate and chief agent and treasurer of the Green Party way back.
You're talking about the 80s.
The 80s, prosecuted the networks for not letting the Greens on TV during elections. Owned Online Direct, the first internet marketing services company, and Poll Direct, Vote Direct. We polled 500,000 people during elections from 95 to 97, and we co-wrote a book, Democracy A, with John Devereux from the former Toronto Star.
Oh, he ran as a Green Party candidate in the by-election.
Right. He used to be an NDP, and he left because Jack wouldn't do proportional representation quick enough. Went to the Liberals, and they wouldn't do it either, left and went to the Greens. I actually went to the Liberals federally after the last election to get them to do a resolution on proportional representation. I was involved in that, and they did pass a new resolution to do that. So anyway, I've worked over these years in different political parties and been a candidate to try and bring new ideas and new policies, and no good turn goes unpunished in politics. But a couple of the things that I've done have happened, and there's a couple more that are about to. So that's Greg Vezina.
Good for you. Always, I never get tired of discussing and debating and share the ideas and thoughts with you when it comes to our society and our political system. Now I want to, when they were setting up what happened?
What, in the election?
What happened? Just tell me briefly what happened.
We got rid of Harper. At any cost.
Well, at any cost.
At any cost.
Okay. That is a little bit of
we can get into this now if you want, or we can get into this after, but I mean, 68% of people didn't vote Conservative. They didn't want him there. Now, the scary number is that the Conservative vote only dropped 400,000 votes when voter turnout increased 1.7 million, or 11%.
To 2 million, to over 2 million.
Well, okay, over to whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of people came and voted. But what happened, I believe, was two things. A lot of young people and other voters that didn't vote voted, and a lot of people voted Liberal because near the end it looked like that's where the wind was going to blow. It looked like the Liberals were going to be able to defeat Harper. That wasn't the case in the beginning of the election. We'll get into those reasons, but I think it's more important to talk about first what will happen now that Trudeau has a majority, because he's got to deal with the Senate yet, and secondly, what will happen in the Conservative Party.
Okay.
But what would have happened for just a moment? Had Trudeau not won a majority, had Harper come second. And I believe that he would have resigned as Prime Minister, but the government would not have resigned. He would have announced there would be a new leadership, as there has been. The new leader would, and
if they had more seats, you mean?
Well, as long, exactly. Trudeau got a majority. If Trudeau was 10 seats short of a majority, I don't think that Mr. Harper would have been as gracious as he'd said about whoever wins first gets to form a government. It would have been, no, whoever gets to beat me, but you didn't beat me. You didn't get a majority. So I think that's the story.
You don't like this guy, do you?
I liked him a whole lot. The one time I met him in person.
I'm talking about Harper.
I'm talking about I met him in person in St. Catharines when he was running for the Reform Party leadership after he'd resigned from. And I was there with Jim Fannin, who was a former Green candidate and a radio personality from St. Catharines. And we asked him about proportional representation. And he promised to do it. He promised to run on
Reform had that in the agenda.
So as in before he turned them into the crap party and then turned them into the regressive preservatives. And I don't know what are they called? The constipations now, or so I don't know what are they called now. Oh, that's right, the Conservatives. That's right. So no, I'm not a big fan. But anyway, so I don't think that the shenanigans would have ended had Harper come second, as long as Trudeau didn't win a majority. Now that said, I don't think the shenanigans have ended yet either, because Mr. Harper did not resign his seat. And all of a sudden, a few days ago, the previous candidates weren't invited to the meeting to select the interim leader, and the senators weren't invited to vote, even though the party constitution says so. And so I'm not convinced that Mr. Harper is going anywhere fast. I think that he's going to hang around until the new leader is selected and make sure that what he did, in some sense, doesn't get undone in one fell swoop. I think there'll be a move to have an early convention. I think they'll try and crown Jason Kenney. I think if they do that, it'll be the biggest mistake they ever made.
But the other members are coming out of the woodwork.
Like
a bird.
Tories bury each other's knives in each other's shoulder blades from the front. They don't stab each other in the back. They do it right here. Okay, so and
vampires.
Well, God, so they're trying to prevent a bloodbath and his legacy being trashed. Okay, and there's the whole Red Tory movement that, of course, that's exactly what they want to do. They want to trash the governance by King Steve and go back to governance by caucus and by your member and by the House of Commons. I mean, that was the thing I really didn't like. Is that he took away our democracy, and people just sat at home like bumps in a log, like frogs in a boiling pail of water, and they couldn't even see it. They got 32% of the vote still. If people got on the internet and actually searched for an hour on the things that this man did, the legislation that he passed, I mean, it's incredible. And Canadians, who I thought were educated and politically astute. Didn't get that way, in my opinion, until a week before Election Day when they finally picked a candidate to give a majority to.
Even that is a strategic voting.
You know,
It is just
It
because
made a
of
difference,
that.
but
yeah.
that's the only reason. And to have the Quebec, it just goes to, and I said this last time when I was
Yeah,
with you, how smart Quebec voters were, okay?
Yeah,
To have them go from the Bloc running Parliament to, in a
NDP,
minority
and from NDP
over
go-
to the NDP, and then now
No,
at exactly the right moment,
to the Liberals,
do the
yeah.
pirouette and elect 40 out of 75 seats or 78 seats Liberals.
Well, if you remember in the previous show, not this show, this series, I'm talking about a year and a half ago, when you just registered your provincial political party.
Right.
If you remember, I mentioned that I know that you disagreed at that time, and probably still are, that I said the rise of the NDP was because of demise of the Bloc Québécois at that time, and the only prediction I had, I said the next time around they won't get under a seat, and they didn't. But not because of just that reason, but as you said, because voters realized Liberals is the only choice to get rid of the Conservative now.
Well, Jack. But Mulcair didn't stay the flavor of the month. A month into the election. No, because he tried to then run a front-runner campaign. He started looking a lot like Harper,
yeah.
and then
that.
he said he'll balance the budget. And there was a couple of brilliant social democratic strategies that he could have used that I communicated to, I won't say your name, to senior people in the party 10 days before the campaign, saying, look at now. They don't trust you. They're afraid of what you're going to do. You got to, A, give them a reason to trust you, but B, you got to give them a big reason to vote for you, a big reason.
It's a sales job,
Okay?
of course.
And I said, what you should do is say the reason I can balance the budget is because I'm going to drop the appeal of the Committee on Monetary Reform case about the Bank of Canada lending money interest-free to municipalities, and I'm going to save $10 billion a year in interest, and we're not going to spend
$30 billion.
Oh yeah, whatever, and we're not going to spend another $1.4 trillion since the last Trudeau gave everything to the banks.
Yeah.
Now, if he'd said that, and then he said, and by the way, if you think I'm too scary, well, he wouldn't have said it that way, but he'd use the positive, and you have control because I'll pass the citizens' referenda bill that they have in British Columbia that Mike Harris got a majority promising and never passed, that none of these guys will give you because they don't want you to have a say. They want a majority is a majority is a majority. We'll see you in 4.5 years. Now, if he'd done that, he'd said both, I have an economic strategy that is going to deal with the inequities of society, that's going to deal with spending larger and larger and larger percentages of resources to pay for infrastructure built under private partnership, 3P, with governments, where the private sector borrows money at a higher interest rate than the government can and then makes a profit on top. Like, this is just stupid. It's stupid.
In sales, as you said, if I think you were right on the money when you said you convey the message. In the sales, you have to first gain the trust and then close.
Yeah.
And in this case,
he didn't do either.
He didn't. If you don't get the trust, you can't close.
You don't get the sale.
For sure. But what I noticed was, I think NDP people. I mean, I'm talking about the top rank. I noticed through the process of campaign, they get more complacent. More some sort of the more comfortable that we are going to win this.
Well, we don't know.
Delusional.
Well, I won't say that. I think there was some initial euphoria when the guy started looking like he was a hair short of 40%. And for a couple of weeks, it looked like holy jumping Jehovah's Witness. The same thing that happened in Alberta is going to happen in Ottawa. But Harper ended up coming back 4 or 5 points before Trudeau started making his move.
Yes, but then
in the
he made a
polls.
mistake with the niqab
You
and
know,
all
and
of
it,
those
well,
things.
and I don't agree that what McCarra did on the niqab was a mistake. It was a mistake politically,
No, politically, I'm
It
talking
blew
about.
50 seats.
Yeah.
but I think it was the right thing to do.
No, I'm not talking about the
Yeah.
concept.
And I think it was the wrong thing to do for our prime minister to play that game.
Yeah.
And 68% of Canadians agree with me on that, which
Of
I
course.
think is just wonderful. So, so now let's look at what we're going to deal with now. Trudeau's
now we have
got
Trudeau. Now
he's-
let me ask you this question this way, so you can
Segue.
direct your mind based on the experience that we already gained over the last 10 years or 9.5 years. Last week when we had a special that unfortunately you were under the weather, you couldn't attend, I argued with one of our guests who was a very conservative-minded individual that I said, they claim that Trudeau doesn't have experience. I said 10 years ago, Harper didn't have experience when he came. So we saw the result of that. Now, and now my question is, based on, because I know you were dealing with the Liberal parties for a number of times in the past, based on what you have seen, and the numbers really didn't much change. We changed the color, the number of the votes, I calculated them. The same come back to the same.
would have got majority. Yeah, it was a joke.
But
It
they
was a
go,
joke,
yeah.
but they got a majority.
With less than 5 million votes, they got majority and overwhelming the majority. Now,
Well, no, I wouldn't call it overwhelming until you
One-
get over 200 seats. Okay?
Oh, okay, 100.
Mulroney
Oh,
got
you're right.
Mulroney
Yes.
got an overwhelming majority.
You're right, because we had additional 30 seats.
212
Really,
seats
yeah,
out of 300
yeah.
and 301, I think,
Yeah,
at the time, or
yes.
308.
Yeah,
I forget.
Still, they just passed 170.
Yeah.
Now, what is the direction of the country is going? Is he going to really deliver, or is he going like become? Because he's not the only one who makes the decision. Is he?
Okay, the simple answer is I think he's going to do a lot of things that people aren't expecting.
Like anyone else?
Okay, so will he deliver? Well, he'll deliver certain things, but for a lot of people, he's not going to be delivering what they think they're going to get. And the reason I say that is he was born in politics. From a week old, he's been in politics. He grew up in politics. He's seen Daddy do pirouettes behind the Queen and dance with the Arab sheiks, and he's seen the whole show from start to finish, defeat, re-election, boom, 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 boom. Okay?
Did he understood?
I believe that when he said, people, you got to listen to what these guys say. Sometimes they'll telegraph you how it's going to go.
Between the lines.
Sometimes they'll tell you how it's going to go. And if you're listening, you can catch it. And he said, this isn't Kathleen Wynne now. This is Justin Trudeau.
Yeah.
Kathleen Wynne says, I'll do politics differently. That doesn't mean I'm going to do it better or cleaner or nicer.
Oh, no. We have seen it.
Differently means something entirely different. Yeah, no. But his differently, he said, I'm going to be less partisan. Now that's very, very, very important if he means it, because less partisan could end up being a pretty amazing thing.
If he delivers.
If he delivers. Now he could, for example, not use the Liberal majority in setting up all the committees. Make it fair. You know what I mean? Rather, the Liberals had all the committees and they go on camera and,
So
blah, blah,
like
blah, blah, blah.
conservative
Okay. So he can reverse that
to
make it open and blah, 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 okay? Now that would be very important because now, MPs and Canadians would get a much broader view and much more input on legislation. And so he could very much change the way the legislative side of government is run. And only have whip votes, they said, on major policies and major principles, and other than that. And he could also reform the private members bill stuff.
To bring
To-
more open.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's just on one side. Let me go down this little rabbit hole for a minute, because I think when I get to the end you'll understand. I think they're thinking about this. Secondly, I think that he's going to try some direct democracy. And one of the problems with politics today, especially in Canada and the United States, is you either have an absolute dictator running the show, or you have gridlock. You either got one guy doing whatever the hell he wants, or
someone
nothing's
drag
happening. Okay,
bureaucracy and bureaucratic work.
Okay. So, and the way around that is, and I said this in a debate, I think, one time, is, you know, what I would do. No. The natural law, the leader of the natural law party, said this in a debate one time. I was
in one of your televised ones.
One of the debates I did. He said, a week after the election, or as soon as the House sits, I'm going to go to the leaders of all the other parties, and I'm going to pick the best people in all of their parties, and I'm going to form a government of national unity,
we
and I'm going to
discussed
put
that.
them in my cabinet.
We said
okay?
it's part of the base of the Westminster parliamentary
And then
system.
we're going to call a House together, and in the first 100 days, we're going to sit and review and pass bills on everything that we agree on.
Yeah. And now that he's out of the way.
And now we got all the stuff that we all wanted to get done.
Now we go.
Let's go into the hard stuff.
Let's
go to the rest. Let's do the rest. And so I think, now, I don't think Trudeau would do that, and I don't think he has to, but I think he'll do it another way. And I think the way he will do it is he will go to Canadians in a referendum or plebiscite. I really do. I think he'll go to Canadians with I hope he goes with a dozen questions, you know, like they do in Switzerland. On a whole bunch of issues, okay? Where are you on electoral reform, PR versus transferable vote? Where are you on the Bank of Canada lending interest fee versus the private sector building hospitals and schools, and so on and so forth? And why don't you ask Canadians their fundamental, where are you on a guaranteed annual income? Where are you on a flat tax? Where are you on changing the corporate tax rate so that Canadian corporations pay tax on their income in Canada and their foreign revenue?
Yes.
Okay, where are you on these fundamental issues? Because I think if they went to Canadians with a series of questions, and it didn't have to be in a binding referendum, it could be in a plebiscite, it can be in an advisory way. But I think if they went to Canadians and said, "What do you think?" And we're not talking a poll here now. We're talking about 15 million Canadians voting on this. Okay, and then I think you take the results of that, and look at the demographics, and look at the special interests, and look at the bias that you will get out of the data. Might even do a national consensus. We'll do a new census with it. Maybe we'll give it at the same time. We'll do a national census at the same time.
Yeah, a piece of paper.
So we have all the demographics. So
Yes,
you get
12
two books. You get one as a census, and then the other is a ballot, right? So you get your ballot, your vote, and the census thing that goes over in another bin somewhere,
and
right?
then you just add it together.
And so now we have all the raw data, the social data, the economic data, educational data, blah 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 blah, and we know what people think. And then you go back to the House of Commons, and you go into the Finance Committee, and you go into the Justice Committee, and you go, Wally, what'll it be? And then you have the Committee of the Whole make its recommendations, and then you send it back to the House, and then the House votes on it.
Do you think he's going to do that?
I actually think he'll do this. And the reason that I think he'll do this is that he realizes that party politics is the reason that politics is broken. He's got to see the worst and best of party politics his whole life. I think he's going to sit back and say, you know what?
I was talking to someone, he brought a very interesting comparison between the 7 years ago when Barack Obama came to the power in south of the border, with bringing the hope, bringing some sort of the change. Yes, we can. And that gentleman I was talking to, he said very interesting thing. He said, if a new elected leader doesn't deliver within 6 or 9 months, the first 6 or 9 ones, at least 1 or 2 of his promises, then he's never going to do that.
Well, I think it's even shorter. I think it's the first 100 days, to be
Oh,
honest.
well,
But let's talk about that for a minute. I think Barack Obama's very big mistake was he had control of the House and the Senate for the first 2 years.
Yes, and he
Okay?
didn't deliver.
And he should have just hammered everybody. He should have done. But the problem is Barack Obama, the president, the U.S. system, they're controlled by special interest. I mean, our system is too, but not. I mean, look. Well,
I have a little bit of difficulty to.
Well, the banks draft the legislation that's given to the banking committee in the House of Commons, and they give it to the Senate banking committee too.
And mineral and oil.
And then they contribute to their campaigns, and then they pass the bills. Now, they don't contribute the bank's money anymore. They have the whole board of directors each give in Canada the $5,000, right?
Yeah.
Because federally corporate contributions are illegal. Yeah. So it's true that there is the special interest that run the show.
At least provincial here, they just teacher union.
Please, I don't want to talk about Kathleen Wynne.
Okay.
I'm in a good mood right now.
Okay.
I'm happy.
I am not going to ruin your.
But I do think it's possible in Canada where control of the legislative agenda and control of the political culture here is much different. And with a majority, you can do pretty much whatever the hell you want if you can face whatever onslaught that's going to come as a result.
Yes, John Chrétien did, Brian Mulroney did, Stephen Harper
well, yeah, but
did.
they did stuff that the big guys liked. They
What
didn't
I'm saying.
do stuff like Medicare.
What I'm saying, they could do whatever they want to do, but it was not in the favor of the public.
Well,
to some extent, totally.
So Bob Rae gets a majority, and the first thing out the door is public auto insurance. Well, why?
I don't know.
Well, they got a call from Switzerland.
Okay.
Right?
Why Switzerland?
From the insurance industry.
Oh, for insurance industry.
And they said, well, that was nice. We're glad you got elected. Next.
Privatize the insurance.
You're not, if you do it, we will bankrupt your province in 24 hours. We will absolutely send your debt rating to junk bond, and we will bury you. And interest rates were what? No. And he was told, nice try. You're not doing that one.
Yeah, interest rate was over 11, 12%.
Oh, it's crazy,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, no. They would have buried us in a week. They buried him anyway. They went on the whole business, the whole global financial, and everybody went after him, and they got him, and in some sense, good reason. But again, here's a guy, okay, for the first time in history, led a party who one of its fundamental policies was proportional representation, who had a majority to do it, and didn't do it.
So that is what I'm saying. What guarantee do we have this guy is going to do it?
Well, I think the guarantee that this guy is going to do it is the difference in politics, in the generational change. I think that Prime Minister-elect Trudeau realizes that our politicians aren't going to give us stuff anymore. They might be able to throw a few baubles from the Christmas tree of election campaign. Crumbs. Look at that shiny little red Christmas ball there. Oh, look at the sprinkly stuff. And we have a star on top. Yeah. But the bottom line is the Christmas tree's coming down. All the nice ornaments are going in the garbage can. He's got to do 1, 2, 3, half a dozen. He's got 15 major issues probably. There's an article I can get to in a minute to deal with. So he's got to do something big. And I think the big will be breaking this logjam that partisan politics, that negative, that you have to oppose because you're the opposition. You can't ever vote with us when we have a bill, and you can't amend a bill and we'll actually pass it, at committee, et cetera, et cetera. I think he's going to change that part of Canadian politics. And I think if he does, he'll follow that up with some form, We may get a federal referenda bill like Mike Harris promised and got a majority with, never delivered. We will get some form of electoral reform, and I think at the end a stampede of the elites in the party to transferable vote, which means that the Liberals come last on the first ballot and first on the last ballot. Well, that game or that trickery, that wizardry behind the curtain from the Wizard of Oz, that was exposed on October 19th because a party with 34 seats doubled its vote and got a 182 seat majority.
Yeah,
So it means that the NDP could do it. Not only under first past the post, but they could do it under single transferable vote because when people get tired of the Liberals promising to govern from the left and governing from the right 4 years or 8 years from now, I don't think they're going to be sitting there wanting to bring back the Conservatives. I don't think the Conservatives are smart enough to elect a leader that can win government for a generation.
But you never say no.
Well, I'll never say never, but and the reason I say that is because there is going to be a bloodbath in the Conservative Party between the left, follow the leader, do what you're told, and follow the members and the constituents, do what you're told. And okay, this whole battle when they merged the parties, all the principles went out the door. It was about let's get power.
Are they that polarized inside the
party? Yeah,
party?
they are. And there's a lot of people that shut their mouth for the last 9 years who's starting to open their mouth, who aren't so afraid to talk right now.
By the way, he kept his seat. You see, he's not going to last there as,
he is
as
going
a
to
member.
stay there till he gets to see what puppet mastery he gets to pull off,
and then
to make sure that things turn out the way he would like them to turn out, as bad as they've turned out.
No, but because as an MP, if he asks any question, 184 members say in the last 10 years you did opposite. I mean,
he doesn't have to ask a question. Tim Houdat sits in the Ontario legislature.
Yeah.
Today he got a private members bill out. He's on the media with a private members bill.
I didn't.
So it's so important. I don't even remember what it was. Right, Tim, whatever it is. What is it? Free Tim Horton donuts for executives on Friday golf days. Right. But Harper isn't going to stay there long. He's going to stay there until he manipulates the leadership, manipulates the executive of the party, manipulates any policy process, and makes sure that everything is the way he likes it. And then he'll leave.
Let me ask. I asked this question the other night from my panels as well. I noticed in this particular election, more than ever, whoever talking about conservatives always said Harper.
Yep.
In the other elections we had that, or Mulroney, but it was not as harsh as this time in last year, or at least in last 2-3 years. Now, under our parliamentary system and the way we have checks and balances, whatever left of it, I cannot really say. Really, one man can have that kind of the power? Do you really give that much credit to the man? Or
no. Prime Minister Stephen Harper violated more principles of parliamentary democracy than King James, than anybody that has ever been there.
But really, is it just him can do that, or is it a cabal of some people around him that they are forming this thing?
Harper was the ruler. There was no one but him. And the guy that lived in his garage there, what's his name? The guy that lied for him on the Duffy thing. Okay, sue me. Please sue me. I'd like to get you in court. And Mr. Harper.
The one who gave $90,000.
Come on. Anyway, not Nigel. No, not Nigel. No, the guy, Novak, whatever his name. The guy that was living
Novak,
in his garage.
the young fellow.
Yeah. No, he never. No, he never. Yeah, 8 other people.
The young fellow.
The Prime Minister's lawyer said you said it and you knew it. Anyway,
okay.
Look,
the new guy you are talking about.
God, they're so bad. I was in Saskatchewan a little bit, doing some business for a couple of years off and on. during the To Grant Is Divine scandal,
Yeah, I
right?
was
And all
there
those Tories.
in 90s,
How many trouble that went to jail?
Early 90s,
Yeah, they all went to jail, right? I mean, look, okay? The only good Tory is either a suppository or one that will spend a very long time in purgatory. John Tory accepted, okay? They have a mental illness. There's research now. They've got a problem with their brain, okay? Their compassion and rationality switch is confused by greed. They don't get that people are allowed to eat and have an education, and and that we're in the most beautiful country in the world, and we get to share it. That isn't their Their game is one guy owns it all, and we're all slaves.
They
or
got
one woman.
almost 5 million votes.
That's what capitalism's ultimate goal is. One person owns it all, and we're all slaves, right? So no, I was a libertarian conservative. I don't think you get anything from government except a Christmas card with a nice little plastic mirror that has a little writing on it that says, Merry Christmas, get a job, okay? You don't get anything from government. But I also, listen to this one, also believe in a guaranteed annual income. Because I know that if you pay people $20,000 a year to sit at home, okay, that's better than paying 40 or 60 or 80,000 average for the healthcare costs to deal with them because they're homeless. Okay, and you know what? And when you give people guaranteed annual income, you know what they do? They don't sit at home. They get up off their ass and they do something. Okay,
I agree with you.
Okay. And I'm also, and I'll go down the flat. Okay, we got to go down the Trudeau list here. Why don't we go down the Trudeau list?
Before you go that, about an annual income guarantee or annual, about 5 years ago when I was running as an independent, I put it on my my pamphlet, and everybody say you're lefty. I said it has nothing to do with left.
No.
If you calculate the amount of the money is being spent in the different organizations like EI, WSIB,
blah, 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 blah.
You are talking about billions of dollars. I am talking about like 20, 30 billion in one province alone.
Yeah, but that's the healthcare costs are even greater than that.
I didn't even go there.
Yeah.
I said not only that, not only you are reducing crime, reducing the healthcare, increasing productivity and creativity.
Hello.
No.
You know, this was a big idea of the Republicans after the 30s. The
Really?
1900s and
No,
after
no,
the
I
30s.
just calculated
This was their big
numbers.
thing. They called it a negative tax, and if you didn't make a living, you got money from the government.
Yeah,
And you didn't have to take a drug test or a means test or have the revenue or up your ass. There was here it is.
And you don't have to give the money if it has a rent. You give the rent.
Well, Lincoln used greenbacks. He created his own dollars, his own money. He said, "Here, we'll take care of that."
Oh, you're Lincoln.
Problem.
Yes, at the time of the war.
Yes,
You're 17.
No problem. We'll create our own currency. Yeah. So look, there are ways to deal with some of these problems.
If there is a will, if there is a political will, there is a way.
And that's what we're talking about.
Yes,
okay?
of course.
Does Trudeau have the political will?
Of course.
To do some big
What
things?
kind of the list do we
now,
have?
I did a little research before I came.
You
today.
did? I am
just
flattered.
because-
I am flattered.
Just because.
You're the only.
Okay, so I'll start from. It's always best if you're going to criticize a liberal to do it from the left.
It applies the same thing with the right as well.
No, it doesn't. Because the right doesn't criticize Trudeau liberals, or they didn't allow.
No, if they criticize
No,
themselves.
I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So I went down and I looked at various media reports, the top 3 things, 5 things, 10 things Trudeau has to worry about.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, okay, the best one was Print Progress, which had the 15 no-brainers for the Trudeau government.
Like an action plan.
This is the 15 no-brainers. These are the things. And I'm not going to read each of them. I'm just going to say 1 to 15. Here they are. And we'll talk about the details after. Okay. First is repeal Bill C-51. Second is to scrap the Unfair Elections Act.
It will be C-23.
Yeah, three is to fix the Zero Tolerances for Barbaric Cultural Practices Act.
Okay.
4 is repeal the anti-union bills 337 and C-525. 5 is rolled back.
Anti-union, what was that?
That's the bill where the unions have to report every nickel they
Oh,
spend.
okay,
But
yeah.
political parties can send everybody to the
for the third
Bunny
party.
Ranch, the Bunny Ranch in Reno, and they don't have to declare it,
Okay.
right? So so repeal that. 5, roll back the tax-free saving accounts limits. 6,
5,000 and 10,000.
yeah, roll it
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
6, end family income splitting.
Yeah, okay.
Uh,
roll
se-
back. You don't want that.
It says, this is what they said. 7, get behind fair taxation, which is a whole different story.
Which we are talking
but
about flat tax.
fair taxation,
Okay.
okay? 8, champion next generation social programs. 9, stop intimidating charities. The charities that have a problem with the flat tax system
Why is that?
because there's no deductions.
Well, they are not. They are not.
You're given after tax.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you want to tax them?
Tax everything.
Okay, that's
Well, I don't tax charities, but you don't.
No,
you don't
tax
get a
charities.
tax deduction.
No, I
It's
understand.
after
It's,
tax
it's like
money.
a church.
Now, and I would say there might be an exception to that for the first $1,000 that somebody gets
they just deduct
in your life, because they do have a special. The Tories actually put in a special thing for the first $1,000 you get an extra special tax credit. So I would I might get convinced to that. That
Yeah.
one time you can make a big contribution to a charity and the taxpayers will pony up with you. Once.
Similar to one-time
Once.
gift or something like
Once.
that. Yeah.
Okay, but that's it. Okay.
What is the worst?
10 is bring back the long form census.
Okay.
11 is fix unemployment insurance.
Oh.
Yeah, well, we know the answer to that.
Oh, sure.
Right? Guarantee annual income. and it's fixed.
You are not killing the
Yeah.
goose who gives the
It's-
golden egg.
Yeah, I mean, they just robbed us blind. They took $60 billion out of
And
it. Gretchen and Harper.
and nobody knows where is it
and
now.
You can't even qualify for it. I mean, the only guy that qualifies for unemployment insurance is a retiring cabinet minister who gets a pension because he doesn't qualify, and his staff doesn't either, eh?
No, it's
The
very
political
difficult.
staff. If you work for an MP in the House and he goes out the door, you're out the door. You get your 2 weeks.
It
and-
becomes something like
It's
It's
unbelievable.
become something like WSIB. They spend more
and
money.
that's got to go too.
Yeah.
If you're injured, you're injured. We'll take care of your.
Oh no!
injured, we'll do the rehab.
Actually, if you put income
know?
guarantee, that covers that
everything.
too. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Number 12. Cut fossil fuel subsidies and bring in greenhouse gas emission targets. Okay. Well, I would not bring any emission targets. You
Yeah.
don't need targets.
But you are ammonia guy.
No. I would put a full cost accounting tax for the health and environment cost in the price. So if I want to drive my car driven on diesel fuel with 0 emissions control,
Like British Columbia
like
did.
those idiots know that drive rolling coal and it blows a big
Yeah.
smokestack
Pay
out of your
for
truck,
it.
it's only $1 million a mile for your license plate. Not a problem. You want to run your car on spent nuclear weapons cells? Shells?
$10 million.
That's $100 million a mile. Okay? You want to run your vehicle on clean energy or your house on clean energy? What's the cradle to grave environmental cost to build that solar cell, to make that wind turbine?
Yeah.
Oh, because if 10% of the population had electric vehicles, the environmental spin-off in China for making the batteries would kill everybody in the country.
Not only that, we haven't get to the point that what's happened to the dead batteries after they fail.
Oh yeah, oh no, we haven't talked to that either. Right. So, no. Full cost account, health,
Like
and
something
environmental
like
cost.
British Columbia did.
No, they didn't do it right either. No, this is a green tax.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is and this is for everything. This
Okay.
is for tampons. This is for color TVs. This is
This tax
for
to what?
everything.
To consumer or to the manufacturer?
Consumer level, user pay. So that if you buy the products that have a lower footprint, the cost to buy them is a lot lower. And I'm talking about maybe doubling the GST. So the savings would be substantial, like 10%. Okay, a big whack in the price.
How you deal with the manufacturers who say, okay, there is no business for us, we have to close.
So we import from China. Go make your stuff in China and ship it in. We're still going to charge you your 10% tax. We don't care.
Okay.
It's all good.
Okay.
We're going to nail everybody.
You know, each one of these has a very,
went
very
through-
strong opposition.
No, every one of these is, I haven't read their ideas. These are my ideas.
Okay.
I wouldn't dare read their ideas out
What
here.
is
I'd have
that?
to argue with myself for the next
So
half
what
hour.
is the next one?
So number 13 is drop the refugee healthcare legal challenge.
I agree with that. I agree.
Come on. Okay. And that really is one another.
I am immigrant and I am really disgusted
Okay,
with that too.
these are supposed to be
No,
no-brainers.
and I'm discussing with that
Yeah.
because I cannot. If I want to go and get my justice, let's say you do something to me, I have to have thousands of dollars. You can pull your microphone higher. You have to have thousands of. I have to have thousands of dollars to pay to get a justice, and those people get not only money they get, and they have free legal system available to them.
Yeah, but listen to me. Listen to me. Sorry, we're going to disagree on this.
Why?
Okay? This was the refugee health care legal challenge. The government said if you're a refugee and you get sick in Canada until you're a citizen,
Yeah.
you die.
He doesn't say that.
Yes, that's it. So the province of Ontario said, okay, we'll provide the MOHIP, and the province of Ontario got in on the challenge, a legal challenge against the federal law that said if you're a refugee and you don't have citizenship yet and you get sick, you die.
No, I thought you were talking about the legal,
No.
the legal that stay here.
The refugee health care legal
Oh, health care.
challenge.
I didn't catch the health.
All right,
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
okay. Another no-brainer.
No,
Wait a
no,
minute.
okay.
14. Move beyond rhetoric about fixing relationship with First Nations.
Okay.
And again,
That
a
makes sense.
guaranteed annual income,
That cover-
social infrastructure where the private
Resolve
sector
of money
is
of
not
us.
paid $200,000 to build tar paper shacks on reserves.
Or pay
or
300,000
or a
to
native
their
construction company
Yeah.
or what. Okay, enough of this horse shit. Okay, food, clothing, shelter, education, opportunity. They're a right. Those are public institutions. We have public companies that build these things or regulated companies that do it at a fixed profit. Like we used to regulate our utilities. You can make your 3% or your 4%. That's all you make in profit. We audit your books. We see you're not spending the money flying the executives to baseball games, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, that's fine. But let the private sector run wild, providing public
to compete with
services,
each other, yeah.
okay? Because they claim that, well, we don't have the same wage costs. That's right, because you don't pay any benefits, you don't have any pensions. You let the public take care of these people when you fire them because you can hire someone in Taipei or North Vietnam or whatever the country it is this week that you're raping. Like, hello? So, I'm a libertarian, eh?
No. Actually, as I
Okay,
said, that's just one
example.
one policy of the income
Yeah.
guarantee
Okay, here's
can
the last
resolve many of these things.
It resolves a lot
Yeah.
of them, exactly. Okay, and then finally, bring in real electoral reform.
And what do you mean by real?
Real
there is a
electoral
lot of
reform,
consensus.
to me, and I must declare my bias. I wrote the book Democracy A co-wrote
Yeah,
it with
I
John
know
Devereux.
that.
I have a whole chapter on it. Mixed member proportional representation without party lists. Okay, where you vote one vote for the person as MP, and that person's name is on the ballot for MP.
Not the party
Not
name.
the party name. That person.
That I agree.
And one over here for the party MP. So you can't vote for the same person for both things. You either vote for the green guy running as a person in your riding or the Green Party guy running. You can't vote for him twice. You have to cast both ballots. Okay? So now, what usually happens in 99.9% of the cases, first and second win the seats. Occasionally, because of
So
proportionality,
is it like
the third
like
wins the seats.
Australia or New Zealand?
Yes,
Yeah.
but you see, it's a multi-member constituency with 2 MPs per riding. The reason you do that, and the problem with single-member constituencies is,
let's say
if
in
your
the-
MP is a conservative and you don't like the conservatives and you've gone to a rally or a protest and the RCMP have you on the list because everybody that's protested in this country has now got a file with CSIS. And the Conservative Party checks that CSIS file before you're allowed to go to a rally because they have the RCMP check every person that fills out a form that wants to go to any public conservative event. This is our government, eh? Just like the Nazis in the Second World War. And this is Harper. This is what this guy did to us.
Well,
Okay?
it's obviously
Okay?
51
Okay?
million.
Well, Trudeau doesn't operate that way, thank God. But anyway, it's ludicrous.
Let me ask you, just to clarify for the viewers. Let's say in last election, if we had that reform, the electoral reform that you just described, and let's say use a riding, let's say your riding.
Be twice as wide.
Okay, well, twice as well. Let's say you as an elector, as a voter,
Yeah.
you go to a polling station.
Yeah.
What do you see and how
I
do you
see
vote?
the MP list, which is Omar Alabra, all their names.
No party
No
affiliation.
party. This is my
Okay,
MP list,
okay.
their names.
Okay,
Over here, I have a
Okay.
party ballot
Okay.
that has the party name
okay,
with that candidate's name.
okay. And how do you cast your vote?
You go one for a person
Okay,
and one for a party, but it can't be the same person.
and how do you control that?
Well, if you vote for, because the
No,
ballot
how
is-
to educate
It's one
them.
ballot, eh? You
I
can't.
know how to educate people that they make sure that the Omar from the, let's say, NDP does.
Well, that's up to the parties to, to educate people, and this is process stuff that have to be worked out. But the best way is for people to know that the MP that they elect in their riding, whether he's the MP or the party MP, is still accountable to them. And that's why you have 2 or more MPs, as I was saying. Because if the conservative MP doesn't help you, you can go to the liberal. So there's always competition amongst the
and
MPs.
how to those ballots being counted?
Well, they're counted the way they count them in Germany
no,
or anywhere else.
No, I know, but you have let's say Mr. Omar, or then you put Mr. Tony on the other side.
Yeah.
So at the end of the night, what's happened to Mr. Omar? What's happened
Whoever
to Mr.
comes
Tony?
first on the
On the-
candidate list and whoever comes first on the party list, because he can't come first on both.
So you get 2 people from each riding.
Right,
Okay,
correct.
okay,
correct,
that's my
correct.
point.
So that when you want to talk to your MP, you're not stuck with some Tory
Well,
hack or
person,
some
yeah.
socialist or some liberal
So
twisting the wind.
So
right?
you, in this case, you are going to redistribute the whole riding.
They're
parameter.
larger, but
Yeah.
it makes them work together. And look, I'm awful unfair to politicians. You know that. I mean, I think most
No,
of them.
I've been- you've been
most
with
of
them.
most of them are useless, but not until after they've been in office for a little while. I think most people that go into politics are decent, hard-working citizens.
They want to do
who are
something,
not,
but-
who are not psychopaths yet. Okay.
When they get
but
there,
they get
something-
there and they become psychopaths.
There
pretty
is,
fast.
we discussed that last time. There is some sort of the contagious.
There's something in the water.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's something.
Why do you
wrong.
have Mulroney's picture? in
Well,
here?
because we're going to talk about how Trudeau is going to govern.
Okay.
So he brings the and by the way, marijuana wasn't on their top 15 list.
No, I noticed that. I didn't want even to mention that
no.
because
And
that
it's
is
gonna,
not.
and it's going to be on the top list, believe me. But there is an issue as well about Senate reform, and more immediately how Mr. Trudeau is going to get bills.
He had some.
through the Senate.
He ticked them off yesterday or this morning. Or what was that?
Yeah, he loves pissing the senators
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
But yeah, you're going to do what I want, he says, or whatever. Yeah. But the fact of the matter, he does have the right to appoint 8 emergency senators. He won't have control of the Senate with retirements, assuming that the independent Liberals voted Liberal, and the independent senators voted Liberal.
Yeah.
The Tories would lose control of their majority the end of next year.
After he appointed.
After he appointed.
You didn't mention
22
anything about
more.
Senate reform.
Okay.
Neither.
Now,
Hold on a second.
however,
Chris.
yes.
Can we continue? Just continue because I want him to finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, Senate reform. Okay. So here we go. Mulroney passed the free trade bill.
Okay.
He won his majority. He got his free trade.
It was 1988.
And he
I remember.
he doesn't have enough votes in the Senate. Sorry, the GST bill. Sorry, the beginning, the GST bill.
GST and free trade was
And
at
he
the same
doesn't have
time.
enough in 1990. He doesn't have enough senators to pass it.
But he passed it.
Because he went to the Queen and said, under Section 26 of the Constitution, I want 8 extra senators.
Oh, yes, he appointed additional
8 extra senators.
He increased the senators from 90-something to 100-something, yeah.
And according to the Senate appointments under Section 26 of the
We
Constitution,
need another week. We could act another
1867,
7.
In fact, there's a convention in 1906 that the Queen must accept a request from the Prime Minister for 8 extra senators when he has just won a majority in an election and the Senate will thwart him passing his bills.
So
There was actually a deal made, and that's what Mulroney used. So I believe that if Trudeau has any problems in the Senate, he's going to go to the Queen and he's going to say, okay, you non-liberal senators are now called independent liberal senators, and we have an independent Senate House leader, right? You're liberal senators again, except you're independent liberal senators.
Arm length.
Yeah, okay. And he's going to appoint the 22, and then he's going to go to the Queen and he's going to say, now, if you give me 8 senators, I still might not be able to pass my legislation because I only have 29 of my liberal senators. Will you give me, you know, I don't.
You think even increase
with the
that
22,
aid?
that's 51. There's 105 seats. I don't have enough.
No, because right now we have 105 seats.
Yeah, no, listen.
And
so
22
he could go,
is empty.
He could go for
27
8
actually.
twice, actually, to guarantee his legislation would pass. Now, he could certainly go for 8 once, and if they thwarted a bill, he'd go for 8 more.
Now there is a precedent too, even.
And there's the precedent.
Yeah.
So I think that the Senate reform is going to come because Trudeau is going to appoint a whack of independent senators to support certain key pieces of legislation. They'll agree to that, and they'll agree to term limits, and they'll agree to sit at the pleasure of the House of Commons, which means that any time the House of Commons decides you're not sitting anymore, you're out the door. And Mulroney, senators, and Harper did have a deal a little bit like that with the senators that he appointed.
But he cannot have the same deal with the conservative senators, can he?
Well, the conservative senators can honor they had a maximum of 10 years, I think, and they can honor that and get out after 10 years, or they can say, no, sue me. But I think Trudeau will do that. He will appoint a bunch of senators to sit at the pleasure of the House of Commons. And that if they vote against him, too much, he'll throw them out, because he, after all, has the right to get the legislative agenda through the House, right?
Well, he has to do.
And he can't get it through the House unless it goes to the Senate.
Of course, after even third.
Because it has to come back for royal assent.
Yeah, you don't.
Third reading.
Yeah, after
first, second reading, off to the Senate, back for third reading, off to the Governor General, and out we go.
But based on what you said earlier at the beginning of the show that now that there is a kind of the excessive polarization inside the Conservative Party, that could even have a trickle down to the Senate. Some of those senates that they are conservative become more favorable to the bills that they are running.
I don't think that there's any conservative in the Senate is interested in helping Mr. Trudeau pass a single bill.
None of them.
Not a one.
That is a very cynical point of view.
Well, I'm being honest, because anything that Trudeau can accomplish is good for the Liberal Party, and unfortunately, conservatives don't believe in anything other than winning power. So they have no principles, no morals, no policies whatsoever. There's nothing they stand for other than tax cuts for the rich, canceling social programs for the poor, and selling your hospitals and schools to the highest bidder from China.
Well, Chris, we finished an hour, huh? Yeah, okay. we are getting, and I'm glad that you finished, because I thought you were going around. That is why I asked Chris to let. First of all, now the conclusion before I close the show. The conclusion is, you have a belief as you said at the beginning of the show, no one is correct. No one predicted anything that always correct. But still, because even though you said that, you believe that Trudeau is going to do some of those things.
I do, because again, I'll go back and say it. People didn't listen to what he said. He said, "I am not going to operate as a partisan."
And how can I hold you accountable if, let's say, one
If
year...
I'm wrong,
one
I'm
year-
wrong. Well, call me back on and fry me, no problem. Look it. I'm not perfect, far from perfect. Ask my poor wife, right? But okay. I think politically outside of the box,
Yeah.
and I've been right a lot more than I've been wrong on some very big things. So
No, I know that. I'm just being facetious.
Yeah, no, and I know.
about-
Anytime,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
embarrassed.
We put, let's say, we make a date at least for another 5 months, at least 5 or 6 months from now. So when we enjoy the first half, when he's going
Why don't we do the first 100 days?
that would be a good
Okay,
idea.
let the house
Okay.
sit the first
Okay.
100 days. Let's do 105 days,
Okay.
because everyone else will do the first 100 days, and then we can watch their whining and complaining.
When is he going to be inaugurated?
Well, I don't think he'll bring the house back until the new year, and I don't think he has to.
Okay, so it comes to about that 5 months again.
So so we end up in June.
No,
or May.
March.
No, because 100 days. Oh yeah, it's 3 months. Well, yeah, okay, that's right.
He's a good-
April Fools.
Yeah, good. Thank you. First of all, thank you for being here, and thank you for all of this information you brought up. I am pretty sure whoever watched this show or is going to watch it subsequently on YouTube can learn at least at least half a dozen good new things that you brought in, as always. Thank you, folks, for being with us this Tuesday, October 27th of the 2015, just 1 week after the recent federal general election that we had. And hopefully all of the things that Greg predicted, it happens, and we have much better government. That is the whole purpose of me doing that, and many thousands of people like Greg himself, to bring better government to impact or better our lives as citizens of this land. Please, as always I say, remember to take part in your electoral process, which I believe it is the only thing left of democracy as I know it. Volunteer, help a candidate. Now that we finish federal campaign, help a MP if you can, or just spread the word and educate your neighbors, your friends, your family, and more importantly, roll your sleeves up and become a candidate in the next election. Thank you and good night.
Cast your ballot, hope for the best. This is where your vote rests. Oh, what we gonna do? Democracy, is it just a joke? Oscar Wilde said it best when he wrote simply, bludgeon of the people, by the people, for the people. And divide and conquer, well, that sometimes works. You can always find some sad soul who's been hurt to turn into a radical in the name of the Lord. So let the voters echo, let their voices be heard. Let us join together for a peaceful and better world, a place for everyone to have their say. Let the voters echo out today. Let the voters echo loud and free. So let the voters echo, let their voices be heard. Let us join together for a peaceful and better world, a place for everyone to have their say. Let the voters echo out today. Let the voters echo loud and free. Yeah, let the voters echo loud and free. What do you think? Need to do it again?